Wednesday morning here on the Morning Brew. I have in front of me a brand new book. I'm talking hours old. It's the Starr College Guide. I've often wondered when I see pictures of very glamorous tutors on the back of buses, etc., what that's all about. I've learnt that this kind of phenomenon here of celebrity tutors started in the 1990s, not just in Hong Kong, in other places as well. I've got a real one here with me. The Starr College Guide, with 2 R's, is written by Starr Lam. How are you?
I'm good. So happy to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Welcome along. An Asian's Guide to the Ivy League and America's Top Universities. Firstly, congratulations, man. This is great. You've got this lovely book and it's just fresh off the press.
Yes, I'm so excited about it. I think I got it 2 days ago and it was just a real dream come true for me.
Brilliant. How long have you been involved in education?
I've been involved kind of half 50-50 since 2006, but I think I really jumped into education since 2011. So I graduated from one of the Ivy League universities as well, and I did the usual banking and consulting jobs. And then I also did private equity, and I just realized that, you know, I wanted something more in life. And so I decided to switch completely into something that I was really interested in.
Which is writing.
Which is writing as well as education. I mean, I was at these companies and all of the time people would just tell me, the manager would tell me, help my kid get into the Ivy League. And I just felt like I had some kind of aura or some kind of authority about it. And people kept asking me about it. So I just decided to switch completely and help them.
Let's stay with this.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever people think about this kind of job,
yeah.
I mean, obviously opinions are very divided and people scratch their heads.
Yep.
But it does highlight a real sort of hole in the local education system that this kind of thing is needed. But on the other hand, good for you guys.
Yeah.
You got a gig.
I think that most of the time people think of education as something that has to be run by the government or something that has to be non-profit. But I think that being in the business sector of it, there's so much competition and so much innovation. And I think that we can actually help the whole industry move forward by this innovation. And I think this level of competition is something you can't create when it's strictly related to put in the hands of some people.
Right. Well, you have to be good pedagogues. You have to be good teachers to start with. Celebrity tutors. I don't see the correlation between those two. I'm sure people ask you this all the time.
Yeah, I think it's really fun because I get to do what I love. But I wanted to be in education, but I've never really dreamt about, being a day school teacher because you can only teach 45 students at a time. But with my current role, you can teach actually hundreds or thousands of people through technology. And I think it's really enabled me to want to make an impact on people by this type of model.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you suddenly, it sounds like you had some direction before, but you've got a real purpose now, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a really big trajectory, and I think things spread really quickly, especially because I work with a very good company which offers a great platform.
Well, you just said to me now, the bosses of the bank or whatever saying, help my kid get into Ivy League.
Yeah.
It's a pretty lame thing to say, quite frankly. It's up to... You know where I'm going with this.
No, I have to agree to disagree with you. I think that getting into the Ivy League is one of the best things that happened to me personally.
Oh, I don't mean Ivy League. I'm saying the guy is saying as though somebody can wave a wand and get his kid into an Ivy League university so that he can boast to his friends that his kid's in an Ivy League university.
It's a part of it is about boasting, but it's really about just wanting a good future for your children. And no parent wants a bad future for their children.
Fair enough.
And so I think that it's really, people know what's important. And I think it really is important these days to get into a good school, not because it defines what your life is going to be, but it gives you so many more opportunities to explore, different things you never knew about.
And why not, I suppose?
Yeah.
The problem, conventionally speaking, the problem with celebrity tutors is that obviously not everybody can afford it. But I guess your job isn't to be a social worker.
Yeah, well... I'd say that the price point actually is fairly low. It's only a few $100s a month per lesson, not per lesson, per course per month.
Yeah.
And I think that it's much better than having private tutoring, which is completely unaffordable to 95% of the population.
You got it.
And so by having these big classes, you could get to provide quality at a medium price. I wouldn't say very low, but actually I think there are a lot of initiatives.
We're not talking about giving it away.
Oh, well, there have been a lot of initiatives to help, people who are from underprivileged backgrounds to get this tutoring as well. And I think my company has been great at providing this service to, students who come from families on social welfare. And so it's all about, giving back to those who really need it, but also, it's a business. I mean, I had to take the taxi to come here. So
I'm really glad that you're trying to do a bit of pay it forward as well.
Yeah.
The thing that grabs me about your book is called Starr College Guide with 2 R's.
Yeah.
There's a bit on interviews. Now, interviews is very key, but you really do have to do something in these interviews to stand out and not just like tick, 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 don't you?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's all about setting out. And these days, especially because everyone is so competitive about it, everyone ends up doing the same things. So my book really zones in on 115 people who actually went to these Ivy Leagues, or people who actually who actually managed part of the admissions, to tell us what they did personally to get in and to stand out from the rest of the people that got rejected.
What kind of things are we talking about? And let's not forget here, I haven't got my cynic hat on this morning, but let's not forget here, the fees for an overseas student at an Ivy League school is going to be way higher, and they do it all over the world. Right? We'll just do that as a done. What are the things that these guys told you that stood out with interviews?
I think the most important thing is to really be yourself, which is one of the most difficult things, because when I was, in high school and secondary school, I just thought I was another person. But actually, I think that if I had the courage to be more of myself and to really pursue my interest in education or language, I would have actually maybe gotten a lot further than where I did, where I got really, really far. But I think that I could have enjoyed the process much more. And so I'd like to encourage, students that these days, and I think they know the message, that you can just be yourself, be authentic, and present your best self forward, and not just always try to do what other people are doing, because if someone else has done it, it's already done before, and you're also following someone else's footsteps.
Okay, give me a little bit of a clue about these actual interviews. You walk into the room, you see it in the movies with guys on a long table. Is it like that?
It's actually not like that, because there's to a certain extent, there are a lot of people fighting to get into these universities. But once the admissions letters are sent out, most people get into many universities at the same time. And so the interview process is really about, schools selling themselves to the prospective applicants as well.
That's where it starts, isn't it? Yeah. So a bit about the actual vibe when, purely you're talking to the people who could say yes or no to you.
Yeah.
Any kind of things that spring to mind in that room for you?
Could you ask that again, please?
No, just like the way you walk into the room, and there are these guys from Harvard or wherever the heck it is, and you have to kind of, as you say, sell yourself.
Yeah.
But in giving interview tips, like that interaction,
the thing to remember is that these people are also real people. None of us are really robots, and we may seem like robots to a lot of people, but we're actually genuine, and that's why we get to where we are, because no one wants to work with robots in the end. And so the thing to remember is that we all have our own story, and it's as much about presenting yourself as much as it is about listening to us and what we've been through and what we have to say. So I think it's a two-way process where students not only should present themselves, but they should also listen and learn more about the college as well as the interviewer.
Do you ever get into the element of don't overcompensate, don't show off, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think, we have been through the process ourselves, and we've seen, we've been to these colleges where we've met thousands of these people, and then we've been working as well. And so, we can see through all of it. And, to think that you as a secondary school student can, beat us at, playing charades or trying to fake it it's really a bit presumptuous.
It says an Asian's guide to the Ivy League and America's top universities. Well, let's just say a guide to anybody.
Okay.
You're shedding some light on this really very nicely. But here you are at the age of 17 or 18, maybe older. Do you approve of the years out, by the way?
What does years out mean?
Gap years and stuff like this.
Oh, the gap years? I think that it's good to take a gap year, but probably not right after secondary school.
Really?
Because I think that, people do benefit from a structured environment when they're young. And if they do have the capacity to, manage their own time, I think it's worth it. But I think that, without some basic foundation, I mean, a lot of people are really unprepared when they come out of high school.
No kidding.
And so I think maybe after college is a great time, but I wouldn't have chosen to do one myself.
I mean, everybody has their own opinion on this one.
Everyone has their own opinion, and it's different for everyone as well.
Okay. Well, what other areas did you find that kept coming back and back when you were compiling your college guide?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. There's one word called, Asian on the book, and that might cause a little bit of controversy. But
is that you? Because it's got an apostrophe. Are you the Asian?
No. It's actually a book that, I interviewed people from a geographical region, which is, Greater China, or maybe the Asia Pacific region.
Okay.
And I think that what we look for and the stories that we tell are slightly different from other people. And so I just wanted to write a guide that was by Asians and for Asians. And I think that we focus on, things that are sometimes more practical than other people, such as, we think about what jobs we're going to get. We think about our career paths. We think about, the academics rather than the social life. We think about that too, but not as much. I think the weighting's a little different. And I think also we focus a lot on getting in. And so my guide is really, the book that I would have loved to read when I was 16 or 17.
Got it. So you're embracing some of these are stereotypes, but a lot of it's true. But you're embracing that.
Stereotypes exist for a reason.
Yeah.
And I'm really good at seeing patterns, and I'm not going to ignore a pattern when I see it.
No, fair enough. I mean, it's a great angle for a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it says an Asian's guide as my guide.
Oh,
as
it's
in
not.
you.
No.
No, fantastic. So what other angles are we looking at here that people you think should really prepare for? I think interview is a key one. I'm interested in that side of things.
Okay.
What else?
Well, I think the most important thing is the essay, really, because at this stage, almost everyone has really perfect grades because of all the tutoring and all the money the parents spend on the counseling. And so I think it really is about nailing the essay and making sure it stands for who you are, and it's not you're trying to be someone else.
Yeah. Tell us about the essay.
The essay, there's there are usually two essays in the common application, and one of them, it really just asks you it's an open-ended question, or it gives you the chance to have an open-ended question, and you can just talk about whatever you want. And so when I was applying to these colleges, I talked about the way that people laughed or mocked me for being so involved in environmental protection, and actually was back at this radio station being interviewed by the head of the Department of Environment back in the days, and I think a lot of people made fun of me, and I just wrote about that experience.
Why
I think that a lot of people thought environmental protection is really big now, but it wasn't really so big back then 10 years ago, and so people thought it was stupid, a waste of time, inconvenient, or maybe I was really being too obsessive about it. But I just wrote about that feeling of being mocked, and I actually was looking at my Facebook list today, and it said that a person met someone else and said, I met up with a high school friend and I made fun of him for studying so hard in school, but now he makes 10 times more than I do. And I just feel like this is the mentality that this is the type of mockery that I had to face when I was in secondary school.
You were doing a good thing, by the way. I mean, if you were doing environmental stuff,
yeah,
you were trying to do your thing to make your town a bit better.
Yeah, I think so. But, people always find negative things to say. And I face this a lot because of my job these days. So I try never to look at the forums. And it's always so tempting because someone will always post something on my Facebook and say, I saw this today about you. What do you think? And so it's really tempting to not look at all of these things because it really drags me down. But I try to not look at it.
But then by calling yourself a celebrity tutor,
I dedicated my first book to myself.
Good.
And I just told myself, you're so right for not listening to people who tell you no. And it's just a lesson to remember that if I had listened to all of the people that told me no, I would never have left my previous jobs, or I would never have gone into education. I wouldn't be here today with you talking about the book.
Right, so a lot of this has been like some catharsis for you.
Yeah.
Things that you've dealt with before.
Yeah.
Has it made you a different person or a better person, or both?
I think it has made me more into a real person, because I think in the past it's mostly been about pleasing others or doing things in a way that other people wanted or expected. And so it really has been a release of who I really am.
Good. Well, look, you know what? I'm just being nosy. Whatever your reason, good for you. It's called the Starr College Guide, Starr College Guide. Now, has this set you off on a totally different path now?
No, I think that everything I do related to education, it's all in the same industry. And, there are people who take the subjects that I teach, such as DSC and IELTS. These are the exams you need to take to go abroad to university anyway. And so I think it just helps people who are taking these exams but also want to target the most elite colleges in America.
What kind of stuff is involved, you say, in the subjects you teach? What kind of stuff is involved in that?
I mostly teach English. I think English has been one of my biggest interests in life. And so I just couldn't imagine, a life without English. And so this is my job right now. It's my career, and it's also what I love doing. And I think that writing is something that I can attach along with it, because I really do like expressing myself through English, especially through writing.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because the actual act of writing, you and your computer, or even your pen, whatever you use, I mean, that's a personal thing, and that must have really made you feel, I don't know, complete or something like that. You get up, you think, I'm going to do some work now.
Yeah. I think the best thing about writing is that there's no one there to interrupt you except yourself.
Exactly. Where can we find out more about your stuff online?
You can find a lot more about it on Amazon. So there's a synopsis, there are some reviews there. And then I also have a Facebook fan page. It's www.facebook.com/starrlam.hk.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great. Well, congratulations. I mean, this literally came out, was it Monday or something?
It was Monday, yes.
It looks beautiful too. The Starr College Guide. Starr Lam, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.